not working. It's really wet. Yeah.
You got it. Keep going back, straight back. Nope, you're turning the wrong way, opposite way. Yeah, there you go. Now straight back. Just directly back. Keep going. I'll tell you when to stop. Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going. Keep going. You're good. Stop.
Stop.
All right.
Added a 4-chair.
You did it.
What's up, guys? It's me here with a car comparison and review. So, yeah, today we got two Honda Civics. We got a 2006 Honda Civic EX in red. It's a 2-door with a 5-speed manual. Ooh. And then over here, we got this nice maroon 2013 Honda Civic LX. I don't know, maybe. Doesn't really matter. None of them really matter except for the SI. So today, we're going to compare two supreme trash boxes, two of the most basic cars on the planet. You know, you go to the dealership and you're like, what's a car? I want a car. I'm going to drive a car. And the dealership man's like, buy a Civic. So you got a Civic. Your kid, he's going to school now. He's got a big brain. He needs a car. What car do you get him? Civic, which is literally what both of these are. First cars. So today, we're going to compare these two trash boxes and see which one is slightly less trash.
Starting with the 2013, I feel like this car is what non-car people think of when they first hear the word Civic. I'd even go as far as to say that it's what they think of when they hear the word car. It's just that basic. Not in a bad way, but just a basic way. As far as the exterior, the color pops more than your average silver mom-mobile, but it's nothing to write home about. I've always thought that the 9th gen Civics like this one had the least identity of any Civic generation. I feel like it was the most boiled down and bland. Sure, it wasn't ugly, and it wasn't overly flashy like the new ones, but it just looked too samey. The front end is alright. I'm not all about the chrome, but it doesn't look horrible, and the back is just whatever. This model has 15x9 steely wheels, which sort of suck, but whatever. I didn't notice at first, so I guess it's fine. Moving on to the interior, it's fine. It's relatively driver-oriented, which is always pleasant. The materials feel cheap and plasticky, but not brittle. The colors are fine. I like the tachometer and speedo. I think it's a good example of a well-done digital gauge setup, at least from this time period. I do wish they had a temp gauge instead of a fuel economy gauge, especially since those bars on either side of the speedo show how well you're doing on your economy. It just feels a little redundant. It has that eco button that other Hondas have, which I didn't try out, but probably isn't all that interesting or useful. Moving on from styling to the real meat, the driving experience, I'd say it's just as bland. The 5-speed automatic transmission is uninspired, but it's hard to make an inspiring automatic transmission. The car features the R18 single overhead cam inline-4 iVTEC engine with no direct injection. If you don't know what all that means, then you're in luck, because I'll have a dedicated video coming out all about the R18 and VTEC, so stay tuned. But what you need to know for now is that the R18 makes about 140 horsepower at 6,300 RPM and about 128 pound-feet of torque at 4,300 RPM.
Obviously a little bit suboptimal, but it's not horrible. So I'm doing a little bit of a pull here, foot to the floor. It revs out. Yeah, it revs out. It likes to rev, which is good. It feels a little bit less peppy than 2006, but that's probably just because it is automatic.
Both of those figures are nothing to boast about, but the peppy little four-banger feels pretty Honda. Being a four-door sedan, the car has a decent bit of weight on it for a Civic. It's not the most agile, and being a heavy front-wheel drive car, it is very prone to understeer. The suspension is comfortable, but not luxurious, so just bland. The steering felt fine. Again, unfortunately nothing to write home about. I thought the steering wheel was nice, but it didn't fit in my hands as comfortably as a 2006. Overall, the driving experience leans a little bit into the sporty side, but not very much at all. It's firmly planted in the boring zone. It's certainly not luxury, but it's adequately comfy. I'd say my general first impressions with this car are that it's a machine that'll get you to where you need to go. And if that's all you want, then this car is great. But for those of us who want a little passion in our daily drive, it feels suboptimal. Oh yeah, I should probably mention it do make like 40 miles per gallon though, which is sorta nice.
Honestly, there's not much left to say about this thing. Perhaps that speaks volumes. Maybe it just means I'm bad at reviewing cars. I think if there's one comparison I could make to sum everything up, I'd say the Civic is like the LaCroix of cars. Flavorless, but with just a tiny hint of spice. On second thought, nah, LaCroix is too fancy, if you can even say that. I'd say it's more of just the vanilla ice cream of cars. You know, it's just the default flavor. It's not unpleasant. It's just really boring. And with that, we're on to our other lovely Ricemobile. This is a 2006 Honda Civic EX Coupe with a 5-speed manual transmission, which right off the bat makes it infinitely more fun than the other car. Some drivers might disagree with me, but I think that the manual is the only thing holding this car up and making it something at least slightly special. Call me a manual purist all you want, but I really think this car embodies my philosophy that if you put a manual in a boring car, it automatically becomes a fun car, better than any other example I can think of. Granted, it's not as fun as many other cars on the road, but it's so much more fun than the other Civic. That joyous manual is mated to the same R18 inline-4 as the other Civic, making the same 140 horsepower. It's very slow, but it more than makes up for it in driving feel. The steering is just about as responsive as the 2013, but I like the wheel more. The car is lighter and smaller than the 2013, which makes it feel significantly more agile. Despite this, it's still very planted. It doesn't usually want to rotate very much, even when you use the handbrake to slide the rear wheels out. Everything stays stable and in tune. It understeers just like any front-wheel drive car, but it handles very well near its limit. It inspires a confident driving style and holds the lines you throw it into very well. It's a fun little rice rocket. Just as a quick aside, racers really love these Civics. The acceleration is lackluster, but it feels torquey and eager to rev. It's very satisfying to ring the power band all the way out. While it doesn't give you a great feeling of speed, it certainly makes for a good shifting experience when you bang through the gears at high RPM.
One of the highlights of the car, if not the highlight of the car, is the shifter. So that's a little pull there.
The shifter doesn't disappoint. It lives up to what a Honda shifter should be. While the throw is very long, it feels satisfying to row through the gears. It's direct and hard to mess up, which makes it fun and easy for new manual drivers. Really, this feels like a good car to learn manual on in general, simply because everything feels light and easy to use without punishing you too hard when you mess up. Unlike other manuals I've driven, you can cruise at low speed while remaining in 5th gear without any rattles or shakes, which is very good for fuel economy, and downshifting is fast, simple, and pleasant. One thing I find disappointing about the driving experience is that due to the pedal layout, it's very hard to heel-toe downshift, but I'm pretty bad at that anyway. Moving away from all that, the interior is boring and cheap. Not much else to be said. A lot of black plastic. This particular car has some interesting history though.
This vehicle has been affectionately dubbed the Chadmobile because previously it was owned by a man named Chad. And if you can see right up here and on the shifter, there's some very visible wear marks. That's because perhaps, but he would drive like this all day long for hours and hours and hours, which is just a Chad stance.
The back seats exist, but they're quite tight. I like the general styling of this car. The body lines feel a little weird with the small hood and long trunk, but I think this Honda looks good as a coupe. It's certainly got a distinctive shape. The front end looks like what you'd think a 2006 Civic would look like, but I don't hate it. I do think it looks a little off though. It's got a roundish rear end with a basic but good looking taillight design. Overall, I like how the rear end looks. I think it's pretty solid. So now that you've got my summaries on both cars, time for my final thoughts. Both cars fill necessary niches in the car market. So really, it all comes down to what kind of driver you are and what you're looking for. The 2013 is perfectly adequate. It's a vehicle that's quite proficient at getting you from point A to point B. It's comfortable, inexpensive, reliable, spacious, and dependable. It looks like a car and it drives like a car. But if you want something with a little bit more flavor, the 2006 is far and away the better option. It's just sporty enough so that it's enjoyable to drive, but it still fits its true purpose of being an affordable, compact daily driver. Neither vehicle is bad, but there are other vehicles that fill both roles better. Perhaps other platforms would be more comfortable and have nicer interiors. And while the 2006 is sporty, it doesn't come close to its SI brother or a car like the Miata. If you happen to be presented with one of these two fine Hondas to take as a first car, then consider yourself lucky because they're both fantastic options. Really, both cars can be a lot of things depending on how you treat them. They're both fantastic platforms that can be used for a wide range of applications. You can still have fun and rip up back roads in the 2013, and you can still use the 2006 as a perfectly capable daily driver. If you're considering buying a Civic like either one of these, I'd say that they're both top contenders in the compact car segment, just with slightly different focuses. Go for it if you're leaning in that direction, but there are plenty of more sporty options in the price range, and consider an SI if there's a cheap one nearby. To cap this video off, I'll give my opinion on which one I would take if presented with both. Personally, I think the 2006 EX is a superior car for me. It's more fun, more compact, and more stylish in my opinion. I hope this video has been informative and enjoyable. I've got lots more stuff on its way, so as always, stay tuned. Make sure to give me some feedback in the comments. I want to do a lot more stuff like this in the future, but it turned into a longer project than I was expecting, and it sort of slowed down all my other work to a crawl. So expect a spree of quicker stuff coming up after this. See you in the next video.